It's going to be a challenge. And as you know, like when you're facing Jalen Hurts, you need a full complement of your defensive line.
We saw that against the Lions. So Hurts can beat you in an array of ways, as can Carson Wentz when he's needed. And Wentz has put up some numbers. Now, there's been some turnovers, but the Commanders have been one of the top offenses in the league in terms of yardage. I know they have a very highly effective third down percentage. So to me, and I'll save my prediction for the end of the show, I think it's going to be a lot of points on the board. Let's pick the brain of the one John Keim, who does a great job over at ESPN.com, joining us right now here on the Football Playbook, making his Football Playbook debut. John, thank you so much for joining us here. I know you got a lot of things going on here on game week, so good morning to you.
Good morning to you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Let's get into the Wentz week. Carson saying he could have been a better person and teammate there in Philadelphia. It's been a line of questioning for all the Eagles players all week long. Hey, your former teammate, Brandon Graham, I think said, some of us had this game circled from day one because of the Wentz effect. And so the Eagles are going to be out there. They're going to look to get, revenge on Carson Wentz. What's been kind of the gauge of the temperature from the DC perspective? Has this been a daily occurrence? Has this been something that's brought up on an everyday basis?
It's not going to be quite the same as it would be there, because you're only talking about one guy who played there. I mean, all those guys played against him, with him, and he was in that locker room. So when we're talking to Carson Wentz, yes, that was brought up quite a bit. And I have talked to other players about it, but for them, it's like, it's another guy going against his former team. That happens all the time in this league. There's not the same level of emotion that would be attached to it for a Terry McLaurin as opposed to a Fletcher Cox, or, or Dallas Goedert, somebody who was with him in that locker room. Now, I will say, I did talk to some who their feeling was like they want to win. Some of them, not I don't know how many, because they came off an ugly loss. They want to win because they need to win, not because it's Carson Wentz against the Eagles. You got to win this game. They got to win this game because it's at home. It's against a division opponent, and they looked bad last week. But having said that, he does have some tight friends in that locker room who have said they would like, as much as he says it's just another game, they would love to win it for him. And to be honest, I would also say, Rick, I think a bigger thing would probably be Indianapolis at this point, because the way Irsay went after him so much. The Eagles haven't done that. They traded him. It didn't work in the end. The Eagles have handled it pretty well. So, you know what I mean? And they have a good quarterback there. They're doing well. They clearly moved on to a good situation. Whereas Indianapolis, Irsay ripped them time and again in the offseason, and it kind of got to the point where you're like, what's going on? The Eagles haven't done that.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I want to get your take on this one, John. From a national perspective, the feeling is almost like, hey, Wentz is on his third team in 3 years. Like, this is his last shot to prove that he's a starter in the league. But then you kind of read the press clippings down there in DC, and, they feel like they've got their best quarterback maybe in the last 3 or 4 years. Now there's been some turnovers, but the points are on the board. What has been the early impressions down there in Washington? Are they happy with the Carson Wentz performance?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Keep in mind, first of all, he had the one bad year in Philly coincided with Jalen Hurts coming to town. They had given him a contract extension before that. So it wasn't like there was this long history of bad play for him there. It was a bad year in 2020. You get Jalen Hurts, you have an alternative, issues, you were going to know more than me about issues in the locker room, all that stuff, whatever it was going on. But the point is, it wasn't like it was 5 bad years with him as a starting quarterback. So you look at that. So he's not there's a narrative that he's like this horrible, horrible quarterback. He's not. And combine that, Rick, with look what I can tell you, the quarterbacks I've covered the last 4 years, he's definitely the best one. We're not talking, when he was in Indy, he came after Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, Phillip Rivers. Here he's coming after, it was Taylor Heineke. It's Case Keenum, Colt McCoy. Dwayne Haskins, who did not, and Alex Smith, who was playing on one leg. So there's not a high bar here. And, in Philly, they won a Super Bowl. They had that game. He had a great year, but they won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. So the situations are different and the expectations are different. So he has been good. He's made the interceptions one was a late throw. One was a hell of a play by Trayvon Walker for Jacksonville. Last week, the throw was high. And I'm sure you know this, like when he misses high a lot. And that's been a consistent thing since he's been here. Missed high on one down the middle, right decision, too high of a throw, it's picked. So those will happen, but they have firepower, much like Jalen Hurts has firepower around him. Wentz has it around him, and that's what makes them dangerous. It's not just Carson Wentz, it's Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson. Those guys make him dangerous. And, and so in Indianapolis, he didn't have that. Jalen Hurts has that. I mean, that's a dangerous offense that Washington's facing.
No, for sure. And, I think too, like Wentz had a good season last year with the Colts. It was just such a devastating loss in the playoffs. And I think that's kind of where, the big shift.
It was deeper than that too. It went deeper than that. And I think the vaccine stuff, and listen, I don't know all the issues there. It didn't work out there. I know like people say, oh, it's 27-7, the numbers. It's beyond the numbers. Okay, that's fine. All I know is here they have been very happy. And I will say the Colts, struggling offensively, but they did not have a great receiving core, and he's got a better core here, so it's more conducive to him looking better here. And again, I look at Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts looks better this year, and AJ Brown is there. You know what I mean? And some of that's Jalen Hurts' own development. The guy's been really good and fun to watch, but a lot of it too is who are you surrounding them with, and that's what has helped. That's one of the things that has helped Wentz here. Now, we're only talking 2 games. We'll play it out. See how it is over 17. I don't know. And, I know the Wentz experience. It's the roller coaster ride. And Ron Rivera was asked about that. I think it was after the opener. How are you going to deal with the ups and downs? Because even in the opener against Jacksonville, had some really good numbers, but there were lulls. How are you going to deal with that? He goes, I'm going to take a lot of antacids. So I think anybody in Philly listening to this, you understand that. So we'll see how it plays out. Through 2 games, he's been good.
Yeah, some good sprinkled in with some bad. Let me ask you about this, though, because his good friend Chase Rouliar, the center there, he's placed on the IR, probably lost for the season from my understanding. But I also heard that Chase is kind of the guy that's eased this transition and was responsible for a lot of the pre-snap adjustments and reads and helping Carson out that way. What does that look like this Sunday with a different center? Who's going to be responsible for that? How does that kind of impact the offensive philosophy?
Well, the center is always going to be responsible for that. And, in some offenses, the quarterback will have more responsibility than others. Here, it's mostly on the center. Wes Schweitzer will take over at center. Chase Roulier is a smart player, and that's a loss because he was a solid center. And it just now you're testing your line depth early in the year. But Wes Schweitzer will go over there. Schweitzer does not have a ton of experience at center. He played it 2 games last year, looked good in both games, but still, it's only 2 games. And the one benefit Chase Roulier missed a lot of the training camp because he was recovering from a leg injury last year. The benefit from that now is that during that period, Wentz worked with Wes Schweitzer, who will now start at center. But again, he's not an experienced center, so we'll see. I think he's a good run blocker. He looked pretty good at last year, but we'll see. As you know, the more you get on film, the more teams they're going to know how to play you. But that's who will go in there. He knows the system, he knows the line call, so that's a help to them. We'll see how well he does, but that's so they do have someone backing him up. Last year, they went down to like their 5th center. It was ridiculous. But this year, Schweitzer is the first one to go in, and he did a nice job when there last year. And so there's some experience there, or experience working together.
John Keim, ESPN.com, does a great job over there covering the Washington Commanders. And John, I know you wrote an article recently about the defensive injuries. It seems like the Commanders have injuries all over the place, but especially on that defensive line. And I know Jonathan Allen played with the groin injury. I think you said 52 snaps in your article there. Because of all the injuries, he was dependent upon to play a lot of snaps. But, man, talk about some bad luck at the defensive end position. I saw the injury report. Casey Toolhill's out. Daniel Weiss is out. Jonathan Smith-Williams was limited. Shaka Toney had an illness. I mean, where are they going to find some bodies to get put out there?
It's going to be a challenge. And as you know, like when you're facing Jalen Hurts, you need a full complement of your defensive line. And so I don't like Daniel Weiss. I would not expect him to play. He's got a high ankle sprain. It's not severe, but I would be surprised. He's not going to play. Casey Toohill is the one I don't know about. He's in the concussion protocol. He's the Eagle. You know, he started off with the Eagles. He's done a nice job as a backup end, but what he gives them and what you need against Jalen Hurts, obviously, is an end that can react quickly, has a little bit of quick twitch, right? Toohill has that. For a backup end, he has that. And so, like, losing him can hurt against some of those zone read and with Jalen Hurts. So that's, but I don't know if he'll play or not. He's got the concussion. James Smith-Williams said he'll play. John Allen has been a full participant this week, so he'll play. But they are being tested with their depth along the tackles, and that can be an issue this week and for the rest of the season. They picked up a guy from Dallas, Jonathan Ridgeway, but I mean, he's a rookie. I mean, So he hasn't played, so don't know what he is, but their depth is being tested, and that could be an issue as the season develops.
Yeah, and Ridgeway was actually awarded to the Commander. The Eagles also had a claim in for Ridgeway, and he was awarded to the Commanders. Now, they are getting some reinforcements in the secondary. Yeah. Cam Curl, the safety, coming back. I look at, the secondary versus this Eagles triple threat of, you got A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert. How do you kind of see the Washington secondary matching up against this Eagles trio of receiving targets?
It will be a challenge because they give up big plays. And sometimes it's because last week against the Lions, you'd have 10 guys doing the job, one guy not, and it's a big play. Against the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence missed a couple big plays, one time I think it's because his pad got hit as he threw. One time he missed it, and so they are susceptible to that. So you're facing now an explosive receiving core, knowing that, and then you have a quarterback who's on fire. So, I think it's going to be a major challenge. Getting Cam Curl back is a big deal because they've been using Derek Forrest, he's a second-year guy, but he was hurt a lot of last year. So in essence, he's still kind of a little bit of a rookie in terms of like his experience. But it allows Curl to go back in there. He does a nice job against Goedert. Goedert will get him because Goddard's really good. But Curl does a nice job in the box. It allows him to play more of the three safety looks with an effective safety in the box. And I think, again, and it allows you too, Rick, to disguise more coverages. And I think when you have, like last year, I'm watching the game, and there were times Curl looks like a cover two. You're coming up last second, filling a gap. So there are things they can do with him. But it's going to be a challenge for them because the corners have not been great in coverage and they give up big plays. So it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, it could be a lot of fireworks this Sunday.
I think so.
And, I've been impressed with Cam Curl, what he's done early on in his career there. We'll see how it shakes out. I know you're on a tight schedule, John. We appreciate the time. Last one for you. It's a two-parter. The Boo Birds travel well. What percentage of the crowd do you think will be Philadelphia-based? And if you're allowed to give us a score prediction here.
I haven't thought much about a score prediction. I mean, you have to pick the Eagles. They're the hot team, and this team is coming off a game where the defense gave up too many big plays, and they just didn't look good against a team that you guys just saw. So you got to pick the Eagles. I would, off the top of my head, I don't know, 31-24, something like that. I do think this team can score. And I don't think it's good. I don't think it would be it'd be an upset if Washington wins. It wouldn't be a shocker. I mean, this team did play them well twice last year with a depleted roster. The Eagles are better. Jalen Hurts is playing better. I know all that. But the point is, like, as you know, in this rivalry over the years, it's sometimes a very unpredictable one, or it doesn't go quite the way you thought it would. And I do think this team is resilient, so I could see them playing much better than last week. And to me, a big key is, can you get ahead? If you don't get ahead with Jalen Hurts, I think the Eagles in that scheme, they'll just run you to death. And it's a varied run game, and it's fun to watch. Like, I really enjoy watching their offense and the way they create lanes and for Hurts to throw, and just the way they create gaps for the running backs just off the action. It's fun to watch. So it makes it very difficult then to play from behind against them. So, but having said all that, as far as the split of the crowd, I was talking to one person in the organization, and before the Lions game, they felt like if they could beat the Lions, they felt like they could get to like a 65-35 split with Washington fans. They did not beat the Lions. So it wouldn't shock me if it's more of like a 60-40 split. I don't know that we'll get to 50-50. That's a lot, because like they did a better job selling season tickets this offseason. So I think it boosts their crowd a little bit. But I mean, the Eagle fans are going to travel well, and there's somebody already running 20 buses to bring fans down there. And that those aren't the only ones, because they didn't do that before, and they get thousands of people there. There will be a lot. I talked to someone that said it's going to look like Christmas. A lot of red. Oh, it's Tim McManus. A lot of red, a lot of green in the stands. It's going to look like Christmas. So I do expect that. And it's always been like that. I mean, you go back when the Eagles are good, especially those, as you know, those fans travel well. And it's an easy trip down 95.
Yeah, and listen, I don't have to tell you, the NFC East is always a wild card each and every season, and it's hard to predict.
Absolutely.
It's going to look like Christmas. It might feel like the 4th of July with all the fireworks and the points on the board. So we appreciate the time, John. Thank you so much, and safe travels over to the game this weekend.
Thanks, Rick. Enjoy.
All right, there you have it, John.